Malaysia is definitely one of the safest countries I have ever visited, a fact often attributed to its strict legal system and very strong community values. For many Western visitors, these laws can be surprising, even counterintuitive. So today we're gonna check out some Malaysian laws that they are the stark contrast of many Western countries. And let's take the United States as an example. My intention with this video is not only create curiosity, but also elucidate on respecting the local culture, and most importantly, staying out of trouble. Consider this also your travel warning. Let's begin. First off, drug trafficking in Malaysia can lead to death penalty. Trafficking, even for a small amount, can land you in court facing that ultimate sentence, a penalty that the US does not have for any drug crime. For drug possession, the penalties are quite severe. You can be imprisoned from 30 to 40 years, along with no less than 12 strokes of whipping. Remain profound. An act that can be considered a capital offense here in Malaysia, in the US is treated as a serious felony, punishable solely by imprisonment. Alright, so let's go for another topic, which is about guns. Malaysia has very strict gun laws. Private ownership is highly restricted, and even illegal possession of a firearm can, you guessed it, carry a death sentence in certain crimes. However, in some regions, particularly in North Sabah, licensed gun owners can form vigilante groups to enhance local security, often collaborating with law enforcement. Well, everybody knows that the United States is completely the opposite. Thanks to the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms is constitutionally protected. While there are background checks and regulations, the legal presumption is one of access, not restriction. Two different worlds on public safety. The practical result is that the kind of gun-related incidents we see all the time in the headlines back in the United States does not happen in Malaysia, such as school shootings. Alright, let's talk about public behavior. Malaysia has laws against public indecency that are closely tied to local and religious norms. A clear example happened in 2024. Two men were fined $1,200 or almost 5,000 ringgits for wearing women's clothes in a local event. Normally, the punishment is 3 months in jail, but they were released only with paying the fine each of $1,200. Now, in the US, cross-dressing like in an event in public, it may sound weird, but it's constitutionally protected. Yes, you would get some stares, people would think like what the hell is going on, but you would not end up in jail for that. Remember, you are in a different country with different laws and different traditions. Indecency is legally defined by local context, and visitors are expected to be aware and respect these local definitions. Alright, this one is a very interesting one actually, this fourth law. There is a law, section 377A, that actually it comes from the British colonial era. You see, the Victorian times, decency and purity and chastity and modesty were really high valued. And what is section 377A according to Malaysian law? It's basically a criminalization of carnal intercourse against the order of nature. While the law is broad and doesn't give any specific gender on it, in practice it's been used to prosecute same-sex relations between men, with penalties up to 20 years and whipping up to 24 strokes. So you see, everybody thinks it's about the Sharia law or because of anything related to Islam, but it's not. This law comes from much earlier, from the British actually, because India and Singapore also had these laws. India abolished this law in 2017 and Singapore in 2019, if I'm not mistaken, or 2023. But Malaysia still keeps it. In the US, such consensual private acts are protected under federal precedent. Now the last law, it's actually a bit weird, but because it goes against many countries that I personally have been, except Russia. where in Malaysia you have to carry your passport all the time. You cannot leave your passport at home or at your hotel. So yeah, in Malaysia you are legally required to carry your passport at all times. If you are stopped by police or authorities and you cannot, show your passport, your identification, you can be detained. It's not like it's something common in Malaysia to be stopped by police, but let's say that you have to show your passport for some reason to local authorities and you don't have it, yes? You can be detained because legally, if you cannot show your passport, if you cannot show the stamp, it's considered illegal entry, with penalties up to huge fines, detention, and even whipping. In practical terms, you're guilty until you're proved wrong. Now for the American situation. In the US, there is no specific law that requires tourists or even citizens to carry identification at all times. You need it for specific things like driving or flying. And actually it's the opposite. Most tourists and most people are advised to leave the original copy at home and carry like a paper copy or even show on the phone a picture of your identification. The legal obligation in general is completely reversed. In Malaysia, you must carry it. In other places, in other countries, you should not risk losing it, so you have to keep the original safe. There you have it. These are 5 laws that show this extreme contrast between Malaysia and many Western countries, and I gave here the United States as an example. To my Malaysian viewers watching the video, please give your feedbacks in the comments, tell me what you think, and correct me if possible, because I know you do that and I will be really appreciated. Everything that I talk here in the video, it's because of personal experience, of things I heard, like personally heard from friends and people I met in Malaysia, and a quick research on Google. Now I'm curious about your experience. Has any local law caught you by surprise? Any unexpected dress code fine or maybe even jaywalking? Share your stories in the comments because I read them all. If you like the video, please consider subscribing to the channel. Thank you very much for watching and see you in the next one. Take care, happy trails!